Hi, and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Karen Stevens, your host for today. Thank you for joining us. We have a very special program for you today, but first let's introduce our regular panel. Ms. Iris Acker, actress, producer of Spotlight on the Arts. Arts journalist and chief theater critic for FloridaTheaterOnStage.com, Mr. Bill Hirschman. And Nicholas Richburg, who is an actor and the PR director for Zoetic Stage. Today we're discussing Devised Theatre, and our special guest is an actor, writer, and director, Mr. Teo Castellanos. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Devised Theatre. What is that, and how did you come to develop that as your art form?
Well, Devised Theatre is what I guess previously used to call original work. Terminology changed.
Yes.
And so now it's Devised Theatre. Okay, so how did I come to Devised Theatre? My career actually began as a performance poet, which is now called spoken word. Mm-hmm. And then I started studying theater, which as we all know, you interpret someone else's writing. And then I stopped writing for a while. Studied theater, got my BFA in theater, did a little regional theater, and then I went back to creating my own work. Very first small commission, Miami Light Project Here and Now, which was a summer program at that time, was my very first solo piece, which is about 25 minutes long. That became a trilogy. Then I did another Here and Now, and then I was commissioned to create an evening-length piece, which was my first evening-length solo work, titled Northeast 2nd Avenue.
How long have you been doing that now? Your own work?
No longer doing it. Oh. Actually, people are still trying to get me to do it.
Northeast
not
2nd
that
particular.
Yeah, Northeast 2nd Avenue.
Yeah, but not that particular bit, but your own work as far as.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I guess since 97, I think.
So for people who haven't seen it, describe it, what it feels, what it looks like, what it sounds like, the multidisciplinary aspect of it that people might not be familiar with.
With solo work, you're saying?
Yes.
Well, you know, it's just you and the stage.
34 other people.
Yes.
I have seen it.
Well, Northeast 2nd Avenue is the structure was of that popular structure of the 90s that was developed by Eric Bogosian, Danny Hogg, John Leguizamo, which I looked up to their work, I studied their work, and I worked with John. I met Eric, and Danny Hogg is a good friend now. But it's that multiple structure. It's one monologue, approximately 10 minutes, another monologue, another monologue, another monologue, another monologue.
Sometimes, and if I've got it right, inhabiting different characters.
Of course, yeah.
Because I think some people go and they think they're going to go see a traditional. This is different from a traditional structure. Is that an accurate statement?
I would say, yeah. I mean,
In what sense?
That you're by yourself.
I can attest to that.
Well, that you're by yourself on stage and that you play other characters that are not necessarily that you would be that you would be cast for.
Right.
Right.
Like I play, females, right, and probably won't be type. Won't be cast as a female. So I play females, other races as well, and age.
I'd love to ask, did you know all these people?
I've seen and met some more compilation of several characters. Yeah, but you know what? When people see Northeast 2nd Avenue, audience members always tell me, I know that guy. They recognize him, yes.
That's what it should be.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Now, you toured the world with Northeast 2nd Avenue. You went to Edinburgh Fringe, where you won the very prestigious Fringe First Award.
That's correct.
When was the last time you mentioned you don't perform it anymore, even though people want you to? When was the last time you actually performed
it toured for 10 years.
Yeah.
I did the 10th anniversary homecoming, actually, at the Arch, the Studio Theater, the Arch, in 2012. There's a university who wants me to do it up this August. I don't know if I can.
Because you feel like it's a piece from the past and you want to move on, or just because it's demanding, or?
Solo work is always demanding.
Right.
It's the toughest thing I've ever done as an actor, by far. by far. I said that I would never do solo work again, and I ended up doing Third Trinity. That's because I said I would never do another company piece. I got to do something.
Being up there all by yourself.
Yeah.
But it's demanding.
Stage.
Right.
Yeah, it
I
takes
mean,
us. I'm sorry.
Karen has done it, with solo
Yes.
work. So, she can certainly empathize.
It
Yes.
takes a special kind of energy to be the only person on stage and keep an audience engaged for 60 to 75 minutes.
Yes.
And a tremendous amount of focus. So, but it's rewarding though. I don't know if there's a better high. Maybe there is somewhere, but it's a pretty
Not
good
natural.
high. Not natural.
Teo, when we're training as artists, and you mentioned you got your BFA as an actor, most of that training is about how to serve somebody else's work, somebody else's creation.
That's correct.
What led you to make that transition to decide that you didn't want to serve somebody else's words, that you wanted to write your own? Was it we're looking for work, or was it sort of an artistic need?
I think it was a little of both.
Yeah.
I like to believe that I took the bull by the horns and not put my fate on casting directors or directors, and decided I would create my own work and keep myself self-employed. If that makes sense.
And there's also the need to speak your own
Yes.
voice, to have your voice heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not only his voice, but his body. As a dancer, the transition from character to character, you transform your body as well, which you do
Absolutely.
also,
Yeah.
Karen, what I've seen you do. Really. And Karen's a dancer too. I think being a dancer is a tremendous help when you're on stage, alone too. Let's talk about dancing now, because your company, your dance, let's talk about it.
Well, my company, Teo Castellanos Projects, is actually a dance theater company. And contrary to popular belief, I'm not a choreographer or a dancer. I move well.
You move very, very, very
I
well.
move well, and I dance, yes, but I'm not formally trained in dance. But then again, I'm not formally trained in writing either. I've taught myself how to do that. I'm trained as an actor and director. But yes, it's a dance theater company. The dancers are actually B-boys and B-girls, which are but also known as break boys or break dancers, which they
Formerly known as breakdancers.
yeah, formerly known.
Boys.
Yeah, actually, they don't really like that terminology. But they prefer to be called B-boys. So I trained B-boys over a decade, and I guess it was about 3 years. Actually, no, our first show took a year and a half to build, and I trained them in a year and a half. But we've continued training throughout the last decade in theater, discipline, approach, practice, all that.
There's so many dance companies now in Florida. So how is yours different?
Well, it's dance theater, and because again, that's where I'm comfortable at. I'm home. I'm at home in the theater. I'm not so much at home in the dance world, right? So it's heavy on theater, and
Do you do
Theater.
full-length works or,
Yes.
or short? Yeah.
yeah. And I follow the same kind of career trajectory that my solo work, which is create the work in Miami and then tour.
And it's storytelling, right? I mean, there's a story of some sort, a narrative that you're trying to get across. Is that
Sure.
is that accurate?
Yeah,
That's the theater part.
Yeah. It's a little more surreal and and symbolic, but yes, there is a story, definitely.
Stylized. Yeah, so it's theater with movement.
Correct.
More or less, yes.
Yeah.
How do you go about generating a tour? I mean, what is involved in that? What's that process?
Yes, well, over the years, I've developed relationships with presenters all around the nation. And, you kind of got to hit them up and, butter them up a little bit and say, I got a new work or whatever.
So if there's someone who's looking to do that kind of work, to tour their work, is there a list of nationwide presenters that they would look for, or?
One of the things that has really been instrumental in my career is the NPN,
NPN.
National Performance Network. And they, if you can get to the conference, it's kind of like SAG. You can't do a SAG job unless you're SAG, right? But if you can get to the conference, or at least you can get to meet people of that network, and once they get to know your work, then you can build those relationships. It takes time. I've met presenters, and they've presented my work 5 years later.
Wow.
The thing is, I tell young artists, I tell them, look, if you're in this for life, you're gonna need to work 5 months from now or 5 years from now. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What's most important is that you really develop a true relationship. It's not all about what can you give me, right? Present me. No, I think we should, develop that relationship, and hopefully they present you. And when you're presented, then kind of give back to them however you can.
Yes.
You're talking about teaching and mentoring and doing workshops, and one of your high-profile successes is Terrell Alvin McCraney.
Yes.
How did you meet Terrell? And he credits you with really turning his life around, and he was very generous with that. Would you talk a little bit about what he was like when you first saw him and how you two worked together?
Sure. Terrell came to me when he was about 15 or 16. I was, at that time, I actually had a day job. I was directing a theater company of young folks that did theater for prevention. And prevention focused on HIV, AIDS awareness and prevention, substance abuse. And we would create original works and tour them throughout Miami-Dade County, like to halfway houses, community centers, drug treatment programs, detention centers. And I got a call from a counselor from South Miami High, and she says, I have this young man who's, he's an artist, but he's not fitting in. He's having difficulties. He self-identifies as gay, and could I send him to? I said, yes, please. So he came in. He did a monologue. And it's funny because we actually had this conversation. We did an interview. He did a monologue from what's it? Baby in the Bathwater. Who is it?
What, for Color Girls?
Like it would be.
For Color Girls?
No. Baby in the
Bathwater.
Oh
God.
Durang.
Right,
Oh,
Christopher Durang.
yes.
Christopher Durang.
Yeah. Interesting choice.
Yeah, it's interesting choice. Exactly. Yeah. And to be honest, it wasn't that great, right? So, but I liked him. I immediately took a liking to him, and I said, and I took him in. And within a year, he was like top dog. He was top dog.
I was going to say that it's just a name to perhaps our viewing audience right now. Let's say what he's famous for now. What is Terrell known for now, Bill?
He's an internationally now known and produced playwright who's from Miami.
For example?
Just in the last season, there was Choir Boy that was done at Gable Stage,
yes.
among many other works. He's now he had a residency at the Royal Shakespeare
Theater in London.
But he talks about it starting with, and he wrote the brother-sister plays that have been done all over the country.
And internationally. Actually, Choir Boy premiered in London.
Yes.
And then went on to Manhattan Theater Company in New York City,
But
which had a
speaking of
sold-out
which,
run.
it came back to where he gave you work. Talk about that.
Well, it was, you're talking about Brother Size.
Yeah,
Yes.
you were working for him.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you got to invest in the future.
Yeah, exactly,
comes
right? It took about 15 years to get that gig. Well, actually, Joe approached me. Joe Adler, Cable Stage, and said, listen, I want to do Brother Size. Can you connect me with Terrell? And I said, sure. So we kind of connected. They wanted me involved. We had over I guess a period of 2 years. We had 2 meetings, both in Miami, the 3 of us, and we decided we would do it. I was to be involved. We didn't know how, whether I would direct or be in it, and then we just decided that it would make a great story if Terrell directed. his former mentor. So yes, if Terrell gave me a job.
So what was that experience like working with him as
a director?
Yes.
I'll tell you, we've continued working a working relationship throughout the years. So it wasn't, the working relationship was not was not foreign. What was difficult for me was to have the playwright in the room, because he was both playwright and director.
Yeah.
And that freaked me out because I did not want to chop up his his text, which I did, including opening night, opening night jitters. But that was the most difficult part. I didn't want to let him down in that way.
He directed your most recent work,
Yes.
Third Trinity, which was a commission by the Miami Light Project.
Correct.
So that was a little bit different. You were the writer, he was the director. So was that relationship a little different, or was
That
it
was
just-
like being home.
Yeah.
Oh,
Being
that's
home.
not nice.
Yeah. He and I have been working together ever since he was, 15, 16, and roles have shifted and changed. I made him assistant director, I think, of that company back in the 90s, within a year or so.
Wow.
He became assistant director.
What led up to what you're doing? I mean, I always like to say, so what got you what you are today? There had to be something that inspired you to do what you're doing.
You mean being a theater artist?
Exactly. I like that. Theater artist, exactly.
Because I don't know how to do anything else.
I understand
But you're
that,
native,
believe me.
right?
Miami, yes.
Miami native.
Well, I'm from Puerto Rico, but I was
Okay.
raised in Miami. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm 305 all day.
Yeah. So I was going to ask a similar question. Was there, something in your life growing up that you felt the need to speak to talk about, to
You mean what
express?
made? Yeah. What?
Yes.
What
Yeah, exactly.
Real honest, I dreamt of being a performer since I was 5, but those dreams were drowned out by the streets of Carol City, and I thought that was just a fantasy, and I came back to wanting to fulfill my dreams after some crazy years from Carol City and Fire and Ice nightclub. Once I emerged from that era, I realized, oh my God, all I've ever wanted to be, I wanted to be an actor all my life. I didn't know it, or didn't know that it could be a reality. So I, at the age of 27, I went back to school.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
You
you're
made it
one of
work.
the success stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I guess you could say that.
Yeah,
You could say that.
Absolutely. You made it out. You're still there, but you made it out.
Right. Absolutely.
Touring, which I know is difficult to begin with, but when you go to a city, who doesn't recognize your name like we do. I mean, but somebody has who's hired you. So where you are, for example, what cities have you gone to?
Oh.
The big ones?
Yeah, the big.
Chicago?
All the big ones, not all the big ones, most of
Yeah.
the big ones, but even like Knoxville, Tennessee. And you know what's really funny, that you go like, oh, Knoxville, oh gosh, and then you go, whatever. And but once you get there, it's like, wow, you really find that oh my God, the Highlander Center. Do you know about that? You know about the
Yeah, I know
Highlander,
about
right?
the
It's the
Highlander
first integrated place in the South. And I can't
It's a
speak.
cultural
Yes.
arts center. They do a lot of community work, a lot of community outreach
Correct.
through the arts, social change through the arts.
Yes.
Yes, in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
It's
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I was blown away just by the culture there, by the people. It was great. So you can't, like, once I was I was doing Northeast 2nd Avenue in Berkeley, then I was coming home for a day and then going to China with Scratch and Martin with the company piece.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, Berkeley, all right, I'm thinking China. Then I get to Berkeley and I forgot all about China. I said, Berkeley is the bomb. I love Berkeley. I hadn't been there since, the late 80s, so I had kind of forgotten. But everywhere, pretty much everywhere that you go on tour, there's always something to learn. There's always a cultural exchange, even within our own country.
But why is it, and this is, I guess, a hypothesis, in Miami-Dade County, there is a real openness and receptiveness to theater that involves a lot of movement and cross-disciplinary performance art. But you get up to the Broward County line and up to Palm Beach, and it's not that there isn't any, but there's much, much less. There seems to be quite a resistance. Do you have any reason? I mean, if you can find an audience in Knoxville, I'm surprised that there isn't an audience in West Palm or in Fort Lauderdale.
Actually, I performed Northeast 2nd Avenue at the Kravis.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a full house.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, there's an audience. I think there just aren't the artists doing the work because I created a solo piece, and it's been some time since I performed it, but it was very, very well received. Performance, dance, theater work. So I think it's just the lack of artists who either have the opportunity to put that work out or the support.
You mentioned the idea of cultural exchange. As a Latino actor, when you were starting, what were the challenges? It's still a challenge today, I think, finding work and finding roles for Latino actors. But were the challenges different? Is that part of what led you to create your own work?
I think that's part of it. Yeah, sure. I think the challenges will always be the same, but Andy Garcia plays white roles all the time.
With a bit of an accent.
He doesn't play them well.
Just that little tiny kid, really get rid of that little bit of...
Oh, he does the Italian better. All right, Italian better. Okay. I think that I needed to have my career in my hands. And it's still a challenge, when my agent sends me out, I get sent out mostly for the artist stuff. And, and then I look at breakdowns and check them. I go, I could have played the school teacher.
Isn't it nice to have an agent so that the beginning, I know what it is to begin.
Yeah,
and you got to go knocking on all those doors yourself and convince them. Now you have somebody to talk about you.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Is there a mainstream role that you go, nobody's ever looking at me to do such and such, but I would love to do fill in the blank?
Oh, I would love to be on Game of Thrones.
All right. Me too.
I don't know. I would love to. Yes, that's where my focus is shifting. As you might know, that Third Trinity was first written as a screenplay, then it was adapted to the stage. I adapted it to a solo. So I took a 120-page screenplay that I've written and condensed it out to 29 pages.
Whoa.
Is there a role in there for me?
Possibly.
When you make it into a movie.
Do you have any plans to try to still make it to a movie?
Absolutely. I just submitted for Sundance is doing a local workshop, which I hope to do, and I'm going to submit to the Sundance workshop in Utah. And I don't know where it's going to go, but just like I created a career in theater, because I took the bull by the horns, that's the plan for film. I will get the film made one way or the other.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. And and as as you know that you asked Bill if there were that kind of work done in other areas, but there are regions throughout the U.S. where there are community-based artists, performance artists, devised theater artists, and there's a network that's interwoven, and everybody really kind of knows each other. If they don't know you personally, they know of you. So there's that community that's there that supports itself and helps other artists get their work out there and get their names out there. So, thank you very much for coming here today and talking to us about this, because I think it might be something that some people don't even know about or don't have access to. And do you have a website?
TeoCastellanos.com or thirdtrinity.com. Goes to the same place.
Okay.
We'll
all
bring
right.
it up.
Okay, great. And thank you for being here with us today. We've had a great time talking to Teo. who's a devised theater artist. I've had the good fortune to see him perform, not in all of his stuff, but I did see him in Brother Size, and we share a common group that we're members of, and that I've seen him perform there too, and he's really a dynamic artist, so if you ever get to see him, please do. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you to our panel. And if you'd like to know what's going on the South Florida theater scene, please go to floridatheateronstage.com and get out to the theater and support your local theater. We'll see you next week.